Okay, so we're going to align the fabric on the teeth of the zip, and we try to pin it down so that we stitch on this side of our zip. So right now I'm making sure my fabric is aligned this way, following this guideline. Remember, the reason why we open pressed on this stitch line is such that we use this as our guideline. Okay, so we pin. Using your hand to make sure this guideline is resting beside your zip or the teeth of the zip. Is it recording at all? Okay. We're pinning it such that when we stitch, it comes out this way. A lot of people have different ways of sewing their zip, but this is the way I sew my own zip. It's easier for me, and I prefer this method. So you can try this method out, and if this method doesn't work for you, you can also check out other people's method. You can visit YouTube. On YouTube, you see several ways of fixing zip. But this is the method I use, and it works perfectly for me. Okay, so I'm done pinning. The next thing I do is stitch. I'm not stitching on this, I am turning this way. Are you seeing my hand? I'm turning this way to stitch on this side of my fabric on the zip. Remember, this is how I've pinned it, and this is how it's supposed to come out. I don't like seeing the stitch line on the fabric, so what I do is turn over to this side of the zip and place my footer on the zip and try to sew by the side of the teeth where we have pinned down on our sewing allowance. Remembering, I don't know how many inch allowance you used to use for your zip, but I use 1 inch allowance for my zip. Okay, so I try to sew beside the teeth this way. I put my footer down and I stitch. You have to be careful so that you either don't stitch on the teeth of the zip or outside the side of the teeth of the zip. It should be by the side so that your zip is properly covered by the time you open it. Sorry about that. And when I get to this point, I double stitch. So by the time you turn, this is how your zip look like. Okay, so I go to the other side. Go to the other side. I'm starting from this end because I love to stitch on this, but before I start stitching, I come to this side of my dress and make sure the line, the join line here, aligns with this. I try to pin this down so that I make sure the flow, it flows properly. One is not going up and the other is not coming down. It flows properly. Try to pin that down. Okay, so I do the same thing I did with the other side. I pin this down also. We also try to make sure we check that this is also aligning. Okay. This is what we want. We want this to flow on the same line. So I hold it down with the pin, and I love to hold this down first before I continue stitching. So I hold this down with my stitch. And I just sew. So what I'm doing is checking. You can see it flows. One is not going up, the other is not coming down. So once I've gotten that side, I just stitch from here down to this point. Why I do that is so that my pins don't move away, or the arrangement doesn't shift. Okay. So now I'll start from this to the point where I had already stitched at the waistline. I double stitch on this end, and I go up. We go up, up we go. And that's it. And that's how we fix our zip. This is how we fix our zip. All right, I hope you understood every bit of it, and this is how your zip look like. Okay, so for this side, what I do is I move this down so that I can be able to stitch this properly. Okay, so we have successfully fixed our zip. So the next video you receive is the one that shows you how to properly finish the inside of your dress. I hope this was really helpful. Thank you a million times. Have a beautiful day.